Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Intelligent World. This is episode 2. Thank you so much for tuning back in. We have a few new faces with us today. DJ Wheels, aka Matt Neustadt, is back with me here. We're going to continue talking about ourselves, but why don't we first introduce our new co-hosts here.
We have some new faces.
You've heard, if you've turned into the first episode, you've heard Chad's voice, but now you get to see his voice, see his face as well. So
see my lovely face here.
Here is Chad Gayton, our co-host and our technical director. Go for it, Chad.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chad Gayton, and I am indeed what Daniel just said, the technical director of The Intelligent World. So a little bit about me. I am a junior at California State University, Fullerton. And so I just finished my first semester of my third year there. And I am studying film. Hence, that's why I am the video director here at The Intelligent World.
He's the techie for sure.
Techie.
Yes.
It's like our own personal microtech center.
He's the IT guy. He's the IT guy.
Right? Chad, is there anything else you want to say?
He's the guy in the cubby that just minds himself.
Yeah. Honestly, just like keep it short, simple, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, man. Beautiful. Well, welcome to The Intelligent World, Marco.
Glad to be
why don't
here.
you go ahead and say it? Say who you are, what you're doing, and your position. Why don't we talk about that? Matt, Marco, and Chris are creative directors and part of our creative team. So without further ado, here's Marco Ramici.
I'm wearing the beanie to signify my creativeness.
Easy there, you drummer.
Yeah, but my name is Marco. My full name is Marco Antonino Rinici. It's Italian, if that didn't give it away, which makes me Italian. And that's something I tell everybody I'm Italian because I have nothing else.
You're Sicilian. You got mad at me every time I call you Italian.
Here we go.
Okay, continue. We don't have time to get into this. And
where do you go to school? What are you learning about, man?
So I'm currently at OCC, which is Orange Coast Community College, and I'm trying to transfer, hopefully, to, you see there? Yeah, Cal State Fullerton, where this guy am I pointing to Chad?
Up. I point up.
It's probably going to be different when we
to Chad, wherever he is. And I'm studying communications. I'm kind of deciding between communications advertisement or communications public relations. As long as I get to talk to people, that's my number one thing. I'm a talkative person, but I'm going to shut up now so I don't take up time.
And another co-host of ours and with me since day one, back when we were around the world at Chapman Radio a year ago. Here's my good friend and our co-host, Leah Weed.
Hello. My name is Leah, but my real name is Eulalia, but I go by Leah. My last name is Weed. I am a junior at Cal State Fullerton, majoring in technical production, emphasis in sound engineering, and I have a minor in business entrepreneurship. Since COVID, all of my gigs that I had stuff lined up at like Knott's Berry Farm and everything like that. So right now I'm just trying to learn more about audio engineering, and that's it.
So I actually want to throw this question out there for Chad, Marco, and Leah. We can actually go in that order. But why do you want to be part of their brand? And two, what do you hope to do with this?
I'll start with that, actually. So what really kind of enticed me to get involved in this is because we've all known each other since high school. And I feel like this is almost like an excuse for us to like get back together and stay in touch. While also, it's one of my passions too. Like I always had a passion for either video editing or video production or anything of that matter. And so I feel like it kind of fills those two categories for me. And this is why I really want to get involved with this radio podcast, and or if you're watching this on YouTube, then a live stream or a video show.
Yeah. Marco?
Well, where should I start? In high school, instead of paying attention in class, I've always been on YouTube because we had iPads and it was easy just to do the 4-finger swipe. So I watched a lot of podcasts. One of the first YouTube channels I actually really enjoyed watching was FBE React channel, and it was awesome. So it was something I always wanted to do. It's like I would rather do that than be studying geology right now. I'd rather be making these fun videos. So, but I started with Daniel, wherever he is, back when we were at Chapman Radio, and it was fun. And at the time I was watching podcasts of like comedians like Bobby Lee on Tiger Belly, and best episode, by the way, on that is the one with Chris D'Elia, the other comedian. Hilarious. Chris D'Elia is 10 times funnier when he's not doing stand-up. I don't know what it is. But really? Yeah, so that's kind of my thing. I wish I was an editing techie master just like Chad, but I'm not. So when it comes to being part of the creative team, it's I do have ideas up here. If you didn't think I did, I do. And I want to bring that to the table. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited, and 100% all the way.
Awesome, thanks. And Leah?
I think similar to Chad, I think it's a great way for everybody to kind of stay connected. We've had this group since we've all graduated high school, to kind of hanging out, getting closer together. So I thought it would be a great opportunity. I really enjoyed doing Chapman Radio with you, Daniel. It was a really cool experience and I loved it. And I don't do a lot of recording at all or radio at all. So it's just a new way to kind of more understand. I'm doing recording sessions for the church that I was production managing at. So kind of adapting that into this and learning a little bit more about just different forms of sound and editing. That's why I'm interested.
That's awesome. Well, DJ Wheels, we haven't heard from you yet. So why don't you give us about a minute of reintroduction to the audience for us?
Well, that's very easy. Yes, my name is DJ Wheels. I am on wheels. Kind of straightforward. Good to go. You guys heard in the last episode, you guys know where I go to school. You know what I want to do. Have a lot of different things that I want to do. Lots of different ideas. Very creative person. Boom, bada bing.
Love it. Short and sweet.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Just for myself, again, Chapman student, doing a whole bunch of different things. You guys know where I go to school. You guys know what I'm doing. And yeah, this is The Intelligent World. We're on episode number 2. Go follow us. Go watch on YouTube. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go listen to us on a podcast if you're watching on YouTube. And really, the point of the show is, again, to talk about different topics in our society, around the world, and just explore different things and hear different perspectives from each other and share that with you, the audience. So without further ado, our topic tonight is pitched by our newest member, Marco. So congratulations, man. Your pitch is on the show. It's on episode number 2. Disney Pixar movie reviews and discussion. His original pitch was focusing on the music Soul, but the creative team and we all just kind of thought, let's expand that a little bit. So without further ado, let's kind of get into this. Let's talk about some Pixar movies. So why is there a fascination with Disney Pixar, do you guys think? And anyone can start. Go ahead.
I'll go for it. I think with Disney Pixar, for one thing, it really blew up really because of Toy Story. I remember watching Toy Story. I was watching Toy Story on Disney Plus, and I looked at the first movie, and I was like, that's the animation was a little bit weird. The little baby kind of weird, but it was approachable for kids because it was kind of cool for kids to see their toys come to life. So with Pixar, it was honestly, it's the best kids movie production, in my opinion, but it's also something for adults because we grew up with it. We're adults now, and we got Toy Story 4. It was Toy Story 3, by the way, was hella scary when they were in the furnace. Like that was hell. But yeah, I think with Disney Pixar, they made it so approachable for kids, bringing certain things that are hard to deal with for kids to life. For instance, like the movie Inside Out, how do our emotions function? It gave us a perspective. This is some way, I know it's just a movie, but it's like, it helps kids understand themselves better.
I think jumping off of that, I feel like Pixar movies in general, they have like a different feeling, not in a bad way, but in a good way. And compared to like the classics, like Snow White and Peter Pan that we all know of, but like Disney Pixar movies, they kind of have a sort of like family friendly dynamic going on in all of them. And I think jumping off what Marco said, I feel like that's really shown throughout any of the Pixar movies that they made.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to jump in here and say, I think going off of that, because there's actually really heart, there's real like a message in every single movie that there is. I think that's why it kind of speaks volumes to people around the globe. You know, we think of other production companies like Blue Sky, which is, you know, Fox and now acquired by Disney, or, you know, DreamWorks and all that stuff. And everything was balanced with humor and story and just a whole bunch of great stuff. But I think what really sets Disney Pixar apart is the heart of the story. It's that going back to it, rewatching it, that rewatchability, and every time it just hitting you in the gut. Recently, my family and I rewatched the Inside Out, and that scene with Bing Bong gets you every time. You know, it gets you every time. So we've talked a little bit about that, and we'll talk about a few movies here, but let's take a little break. We'll be right back. All right, and after that break, let's get into our first topic of the night, which is taking into a little deep dive into The Incredibles and Up. So we'll start with The Incredibles 1 and 2, and what do we want to talk about with them, first of all, and second of all, like just what makes it a great movie, too, 1, and 2.
Jack,
and 2, what's the message that you guys think is like driving the movies?
Name a better character that can breathe fire as an infant.
Very true.
Charmander.
That's a fair point. That you got me there, actually. Yeah, that works.
Good one. That's a good one.
So, anyone want to start with that?
I think Chad wanted to start.
All right, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, sure. I think The Incredibles, both like the first movie and the second movie, they have some sort of like family dynamic that is just unlike any other Disney movie that's out there. I don't know if it's just because like all their powers, they use them in a certain way that pretty much they can accomplish anything. I don't know if it's that, but I definitely see that throughout the first movie and the second movie is just like great family dynamics, and I feel like that's important with any Disney movie, especially Pixar.
Yeah, I would agree, because when I watched I don't think I saw it in theaters with my family. Maybe I did, but it is for instance, Incredibles is my dad's favorite movie. He, like, out of all the Disney Pixar movies and Disney movies, he loves The Incredibles the most, because the family dynamic really reflected his family dynamic. You know, him and my mom, you know, they don't fight because they're not in a good relationship. They're just, you know, parents disagreeing on how to be parents and all that. So it's kind of funny for us kids. Me and my sister were kind of like Dash and Violet, and we're like, we would go at each other. And Dario was just like, you baby Jack. He was just there being Dario.
In the scene.
Yeah, he's just there, you know. And then when the second one came out, 10 times funnier. We all went to see it in theaters, and it really brought us all more closer together, because, you know, it showed like it didn't show some time had gone by, but it did show some things that we all experienced. For instance, me and my dad worked horrible at math. He would always try and teach me math. It was the same way as Mr. Incredible and Dash for doing the whole math homework thing. So it's really nice to see that in a movie where it's like, hey, that like during the movie we're like, that's us, you know. It's really relative, and I think it's relative for almost all families, you know, who have that same dynamic and all. So it's one of the best family movies by far, in my opinion.
And especially siblings too. Like, I know you said like you like, if most brothers and sisters out there usually will fight, not because they hate each other, just because they're brother and sister, and that's what they do.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and like you see that represented perfectly in those movies between Violet and Dash, and it's funny in a way, because we can relate to that because we were once in their position. Yeah.
Funniest part was literally water coming out of Violet's nose. The face they made her do. You know, my dad almost fell out of his seat. And that's one of the another things I really love about the movie. I love seeing my dad smile. He's so hardworking, and, you know, like, he does that half smile thing and all, but when he laughs, honestly, it's the best thing in the world. And like, that's what this movie did. It really made my dad happy. So yeah, it's a really sorry. Like I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but Incredibles 2, I think one it just I don't know how they made it so much better after so many years had gone by.
I think that's one of the biggest gaps between a sequel within the Pixar.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was that or maybe Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. But
I think they were
I
around
think
the
it was
same time.
right
Yeah.
around the same time. Yeah. So with that far of a gap that Pixar had to recreate and continue off of, I feel like
Yeah,
they did a great job, and I feel like they roll off each other very well.
I mean, I just want to again reiterate the fact that, like Marco said, that it is just a great family movie because we kind of think about other ones, right? And everything has heart, and there's like aspects of either like parent and child or siblings or something like that, and various other Pixar movies. Um, the one that comes to mind is Brave, right? But
yeah,
the real family aspect, right, where there's everyone there, and it really is a dynamic of parent and child, parent and parent, child and child, is the Incredibles. And I think it is so, like you said, Marco, relevant. Especially because it's like holding up a mirror to yourself and kind of seeing yourself in that position. I agree with you, especially that math part, getting frustrated, right? And especially
math is
with
math. You know,
math is math with
Math
Common
is math.
Core and the adaptation of that. Seeing that with my younger sister, and her frustrated with that too. So it really just speaks volumes to how well they were able to capture the family dynamic and then have that represent almost everyone, especially when there's considering the entire globe and different cultures and different aspects of that, but everyone can still see themselves in this movie. Matt and Leah, anything else you guys want to add about this one?
Nope, you summed it up for me.
You
Leah?
said Baby Jack Jack. That's all you really care
Yeah,
about.
that's it. Yeah,
It's the only character I relate to, dude.
boom. That's it.
I want to
Actually,
be that kid.
I would
You
like
wanna
to
be-
say that I think we're very lucky because so many years had gone by. The movie could not have happened. Maybe one of the voice actors had passed away. They got to find a new one, or maybe several of them had gone by. I mean, I think imagine they're trying to make this movie and then boom, it just happened. So I think we're very fortunate in the fact that I think we're very fortunate to have Incredibles too. Because it's a phenomenal movie. Like if someone says they don't like Incredibles 2, well then I guess they don't really appreciate what it's been given to us, especially like what you mentioned, Daniel, heart. It's got a lot of heart on all different like levels between father and son, daughter and father, mom being away. It hits home for a lot of people, I truly believe, and even though it's a superhero movie, it still hits home because in reality I feel like our parents are superheroes for what they do for us.
I feel like The Incredibles, at least Incredibles 2, it gave us a lot of what we were asking for in the first movie. So like, for example, like Jack Jack's powers finally pop up in the second movie versus like we were kind of left on a really significant cliffhanger towards the end of the first movie when he just burst into fire. So that kind of gave us a hint of what was going to happen probably in the second movie. And then lo and behold, we have Jack Jack that has a whole bunch of these powers that are coming in. And so I feel like they definitely did a great job in listening to their audience and applying that to the second movie.
I like how they continued it off from the last movie. Like it just
Scene
right
for
back into
scene,
the
right?
story.
Yeah.
Right back into the story. And that's the best way to do it.
So I think the next kind of question, or I think the next thing we should discuss about and is, what is the main theme of each movie? Because it's not the same. I think we've talked a lot about, the family aspect and about, the representation, but what is the main theory, the main theme, I think, that you guys think is in Incredibles 1 and Incredibles 2, and how much they differ?
I think they're both kind of, as long as you stick with family, superpowers or not, basically anything is achievable. I mean, that's kind of the reoccurring theme that I remember from both those movies is don't give up on your family.
Yeah, especially I think for Incredibles, it really hit. I think Incredibles was more appreciative for parents because in the movie we got superhero parents who they're having a hard time being parents, even though they got superpowers. They're still having a hard time.
They have no idea how to train their kids with powers. They're like, what are we supposed to do?
Well, I don't think that's exactly it, but I think it goes to show like there's like I said, it's very relatable, it's very relevant.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about the movie. No matter what, like even if they had superpowers, they were still like, I know what that's like to argue with my husband because he thinks it's okay for our son to do this, but I don't agree with him. it's that's what makes it very approachable and just entertaining to watch. Be like, I know what she's going through.
Maybe on the flip side too, I think going kind of back to what Matt said too is seeing, again, as a child, this is the point of view I want to take, as a child, kind of seeing these superhero parents are going through this, and I kind of see my parents going through the same thing. So from the parent, it is relatable, right? Because from that point of view, and they're seeing like, oh yeah, they're superheroes, but we do the same thing. From the child point of view, it's almost like you can almost equate your own parents as superheroes in some cases, or at least kind of bridge the gap between if these superheroes are doing the same thing and my parents do the same thing, how common really is this, or how common is my life? And I think that kind of just puts things into perspective as a young age. Again, I think the movie came out in 2004, so we were all 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, from that angle, I think that's really impactful as well. Chad, anything to add, or Leah?
Yeah. So one thing I actually noticed in the first and second is in the first movie, I feel like it's kind of like the dad is all powerful and trying to like save the family at first and goes in a mission, and then the second one, it's actually Mrs. Incredible. So it's almost the exact opposite. And I feel like both those movies, they really, that's why they really work together, is that one movie has one perspective, and then the second movie has like an entirely different one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, kind of how you just described it there. I think it shows a balance between the powers of a mom and dad. It's not one is more in charge of the household than the other. It's a team effort, and that's what you kind of see going from the first movie, seeing, okay, the dad is basically in charge of everything. Then the second one, you kind of see the mom take more of a bigger role, and then you see, okay, now they're kind of leaning on each other to kind of, reassurance, guidance, to play the part that they need. So
right,
I definitely think that was, something that it was very noticeable. You kind of get the understanding of it's not a one person job to be I mean, it can be, but eventually you're going to have to rely on something to fall back onto. And, as parents, the best thing to have is to be able to rely back on each other.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
just going back to the family aspect. So anything we want to say about The Incredibles, or the theme of The Incredibles? And again, I think, well, actually, I want to add something. Chad, I think that you're exactly right. Both you and Matt were exactly right in the sense of showing the perspective from the father and the mother really, really worked. And I think that there was a lot of, or there could have been, again, I'm not going to say for everything, but I think there could have been a little bit of, flack at first, like, I don't know, the way the world is, but I think it's so powerful that they really did elevate and really show, what mothers can do, because they're so important, at least in my life, at least my mom. Yeah. So I know for all of us too. So I know all your mothers. So
Mama.
So, I mean, it's just so cool that they were able to elevate both to superhero stardom. And again, from the point of view of a child, seeing my mom, seeing my dad as superheroes is really cool, really impactful. So anything else we want to add, or should we go on and talk about Up?
I think we should.
I feel like
now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do Up.
Transition to Up, and then I feel like we covered all the Incredibles, because I think bottom line is, Incredibles, great movie, both of them.
It is
Incredibles is incredible.
Yeah, there we go. I think that's the best way to summarize it. How was it? It was incredible.
Maybe later on we should think of like rating movies, but that would be like maybe like
that'd be a fun thing, like a tier list.
It is fun,
right? Definitely.
It's really fun to rate movies and to give out your critique about it. It helps to, because if you rate a movie and you critique about it, it helps other people. Like maybe that's why other people don't really like it, or maybe they really do like it, and it helps us to point out other things about the movie. So
I already know what rating you're going to give the Three Stooges.
The movie or the actual
the movie, group and the one that I would we'd always find watching.
They should never have done it. It was honestly not necessary, and I knew that one was coming. Yeah, hey, if you want a critic, there it is. It wasn't necessary. It did not live up to the originals in any way. So, yeah. But let's get into Up now. Let's go Up.
Yeah. Let's go Up.
Let's go up from that. Yeah.
Should we take a quick break? What do you want to do? Take a quick break, or should we go into Up?
I'm gonna flip a coin. Here we go.
Or we can just do the I and
yay and flip to a break.
I say let's take a 5-second break here, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back from our little break here. You just heard a song, and that song we will talk about at the end of the show when we give the credits to all our music. I was debating if we should put it right now, but we'll do it at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's talk quickly about Up before we move into our next session, which is Inside Out and Soul. So very quickly, let's talk about Up.
Best thing, Doug the dog.
Yeah,
Don't even
I think
try to
Doug-
top him. Don't you try to top him because you're not.
No. I think is a
Doug
great-
definitely made that
great
movie.
part
That's
of
all I
the
can say.
movie. It's he's comic relief, you know. Doug is that comic relief because the movie does get intense, you know. And that's the strange thing about Pixar, you know, they really get intense with it, but they just, you know, they know how to control the intensity for children, and I appreciate that because if we keep sheltering children, they're not going to grow up the most confident. They're
Right.
obviously going to hit the real world and be like. But you know, I'm watching Up, and I'm like, hey, you know, it talks about extinction, and you know, there's a certain way to respect life, and they do that in the movie. Another thing, now that I think about it, Up reminds me of like not entirely, but when I look at what's the old guy's name? I'm so bad with
Carl?
names.
Mr. Fredrickson.
Yes, Mr.
Is it
Fredrickson.
Carl Fredrickson? That's his name, right?
No,
Carl?
Carl's the
Carl
kid.
Fredrickson, Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
No,
so Mr.
Russell's the
Fredrickson
kid.
and Carl
Oh,
is the
yeah.
first thing. Now that I look at them, all I think about is Gran Torino. You know that movie? It's got an old guy who doesn't have a wife anymore. You know, he's sad, he's lonely, and you know, I'm not being racist. Little Asian kid in Up, little Asian kid
Boy Scout.
in Gran Torino, and they're the two old men basically, you know, become a father figure for that kid because they're missing a father figure. So yeah, I think it's hilarious that those two movies have that very similar aspect to them.
We have to talk about it. The beginning of the movie, man.
Yeah.
I remember going in. I was with my friends. I like to think of myself as I don't cry, and even at that young age, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. You know, I don't cry at movies or anything like that. Dude, I was my friend, and we both were almost bawling when that movie came out. I mean, that was just wow.
How could you not?
It's bad when I'm at the beginning and I'm
You know what I
sitting
mean?
there
Yeah.
like, oh yeah,
If-
this is gonna be good.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna put this out there right now. If you haven't cried in the first 5 minutes of Up, you do not have a soul. I'm just gonna say that.
I was the one laughing. I was like, oh, this is gonna get good real fast.
Yeah,
Let's
Matt,
see
but
what
you're
happens.
you're you, Matt. So I feel like
Yeah,
you're not.
I'm
wouldn't
not
throw-
your normal-
I'm
No,
talking
like-
about I'm talking
Yeah.
about like emotionless and like nothing, not even laughing, just like
yeah.
you know.
I mean,
So
like,
sitting there just like-
I'm kind of like Matt, where like things like that don't phase me. Like I'll just like my comedy comes in. Like I find humor in a lot of things, but
Yeah.
that was one where I was just like,
It made me do a
no.
180. It gave me a 180, dude. I thought it was so like, oh my god, this is a great intro, and it's wait, what? No baby? You know, like it hits you like, oh shit, like
No kid?
sorry. Yeah, it almost hits you, and you're just like, oh man, you know, reality, you know, it reminds us, you know, like Disney reminds us in Pixar, they give us reality, you know, and that it's an amazing movie. It's very heartfelt for some people because, you know, you never want to losing the love of your life is one of the most worst things.
It's a
that
hard
can
thing
happen.
to get over.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's just tough. But I think again, the heart in that movie and I mean, there's a lot of different lessons and a lot of different themes going from
Yeah.
you know, preservation and animals and bravery and courage and being honest with yourselves, holding promises, loved ones. But it's also making good relationships. And I think tying it a little bit back into Incredibles and then tying it into future topics such as Inside Out and Soul is, you know, just making relationships and like making new relationships, even when we're older at whatever stage of life we're in. The relationship between Russell and Mr. Fredrickson, I think it's Carl Fredrickson, is just very unique and very. I think
it's Carl. I don't think it's. I'm sorry. I think the kid's name is Carl.
No, the kid's name is
No, his
definitely
name is
Russell.
It's Russell and
Oh,
Carl.
you're
Carl,
right.
yeah.
My bad. You're my bad. Oh, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Too late.
I just want to FYI too that Chad, Marco, and I we're cast members at Disneyland. I just want to throw that out
Not
there, really.
anymore.
Yeah.
Not
No, I
anymore.
said that's why I said we were
Yeah.
before you know COVID ended up. You know, we got furloughed and just let go.
But we get
Way
recall
off, yeah.
rights. You know, woohoo!
Yeah.
That's
Hopefully-
true. That's a good point. But yeah, like you were saying, we are cast members, and I feel like we, at our time working at the resort, we've sort of seen all these like Pixar movies and like Disney movies in general, that magic in the park in real life.
Yeah.
And when you see that and when you get to be a part of that, that just makes you feel so good inside.
The best thing in the world, honestly, because like Disney's great because you get to go in for free 16 times a year. You can bring 3 people in for free. You know, there's amazing perks to it. You get 20% off. But honestly, dude, I'm a very social person. So working at Disney, I love meeting people. You know, I met people from Japan and they would bow and like, you know, it's fun to experience culture. And that's what they would do. They would bow to like say hello and I would bow back, not to make fun of them, but to be like,
Mutual respect.
Be
thank
respectful.
you,
Yeah, you're being
Right.
respectful.
exactly. You know, and these, like I've told you guys before, I'm going to tell the viewers that a group of Brazilians came to work at Disney because in Brazil they interviewed like out of 2,000 people, they picked like a total of 10 to come and work in Disney, and I got to meet some of them. And I have cousins in Brazil, and I told them, and everything just started to become more like, you know, full circle. I was learning some Portuguese. You know, if you know the way to say Portuguese in Portuguese is português. You know, and it's so much fun. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. 2 weeks
Stone at Disneyland.
2 weeks later, after they left and went back to Brazil, Brazilian guests came in, and I knew they were Brazilian because I caught on their accent and the way they said they spoke Portuguese. And I just approached them at the cash register. I'm like, "Como você tá? Você está se divertindo?" Which is, "How are you doing? Are you guys having fun?" And their face lit up.
And then did they go full fluent on you, and you're like, I only know this sentence.
Pretty much, you know, they knew English.
You're like, no, that was just trial.
No, but like
They weren't fluent in it. Is what you're saying, Marco, is English isn't their first language. And so when you adapt that,
I think they appreciate it more, you know. I'm really glad Disney does that. You know, we get gold pins for knowing a language, and I'm trying to get Italian and Portuguese in there, you know. I'm trying to learn Portuguese and Italian. I don't know what is up with Spanish. It's just I can't. When I do Spanish, my Italian kicks in, and it's hard. So, but when we're talking about the magic from the movies to real life and working in the Disney as a cast member, there is magic there. You know, magic is not on a pixie stick and, you know, ooh, sprinkles, glitter. No, it's not that. It's. I think I think joy is the real magic of Disney, and that's what we get to
right
do.
here.
Oh, you have yours right there. I have mine on my lamp.
Well, speaking of the magic.
Wait, I want to participate. Hold on here. Give me a second, guys. Continue talking.
Yeah, we'll continue talking.
I was about to say, speaking of the magic, what kind of movie magic do we see in Inside Out, which is our next topic?
I love the way you just transitioned that, Matt. Kudos to you.
Great transition, but like, hey, wait, I'm here, guys. Look, see, yay!
And I think we'll do.
I'm
Chad,
here. I'm still part of it.
Yeah.
Before we transition, and we'll allow Matt to do a seamless transition again. I would love if we can do a podcast or at least a YouTube exclusive later on, like you did, Chad, of just cast members, and you can even bring your cast member friends. I think that would be really cool. Anyway,
it'd be really fun.
Matt,
I'm actually hey, I just want to say I'm still connected with people in Brazil, so I think they would love to be wait, that would be kind of never mind. Cut it.
Hey,
never mind.
we could figure something out. Anyway,
we
would need to use WhatsApp.
You don't want to put them up with me. That's not gonna go good.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll do you one
like,
better.
How
Check
you guys doing?
How do you have two? Anyway,
I have two. Yeah,
he lost one,
I got
and then he had to get a new one.
Mine, I have my gold pin, or I have my 1 year pin. It's not with me. It's in my apartment, but
I get two because you know what? The two I have represents my 1 year because I was technically there for 1 year.
I was there for 3 weeks before I got furloughed.
I saw you got costumes. Yeah.
All right, Matt, go ahead and do your seamless transition again.
Well, speaking of movie magic, as we were just talking about, and the Disney magic, what kind of movie magic, Disney magic, do you guys see in Inside Out?
Ooh, great transition right there.
No, he lost it.
Seamless.
Don't you tell me I lost it. I'd never lose anything.
No, I absolutely love it. And I think the movie magic and Disney magic in Inside Out is a brand new way of thinking of emotions. You know, I think I'm going to get a lot of flack from this one, from the community. People, you know, take advantage of their psychology major and say, "Oh, as a psych major, I can analyze." You know, from our friend group, they knows
when it comes to magic, science doesn't apply.
No, my friends know that when I say I'm a psych major, I'm coming it from from a good place of heart. I'm not trying to say anything like that. So I hope that the audience kind of respects that too. But I think it's so important, and I've seen a lot of great articles and stuff that even now in the psychological community, Inside Out is such a pivotal and almost just super important seminal kind of work because it's changing how people work with kids. I mean, having a way to kind of portray our emotions, how we feel, right? And really portray the different aspects of our emotions and behaviors in such a way can help in almost every psychological field. And as a subscriber to the behavioral field of psychology, I really like how they kind of showed how behaviors are kind of driven by these machinations, right, of emotions. And that's really cool. And also, you know, from a different place, from a different field of personality psychology, it also works just looking at little things such as, you know, Riley has both boy and girl kind of
emotions in her
emotions.
inside,
The dad has only men. So there's different things, there's different theories, like you know, is Riley, you know, going, you know, going through puberty, so that's why there's a little bit of both. Is it something else? You know, so I think it just opens up a whole bunch of topics in society, but also just opens up.
I never, Daniel, I gotta say, I never thought about that. I never
Really?
questioned that. Yeah, because I didn't notice that at first. I just thought that was because like Disney introduced those characters to us in the trailers, and now that you mention, it's like, wow, maybe you got something. Maybe that was something else they were trying to, you know, give, you know, a little hint to like the audience, like, hey, you know, because you know that is a big problem for kids understanding their own sexuality. And you know, so with what you're saying about, you know, the different emotions inside Riley's head between of like having fear and anger as males, and all the joy, sadness, and disgust as females, you know, it you know brings in the question like, hey, maybe this helps us understand. It helps kids understand themselves too. You know,
I feel like jumping off of that, Marco. I feel like that's incredibly important for kids, like for kids to watch this and realize that they're not alone, that there are other kids out there. They're if they have trouble finding out who they really are, or like sexuality, gender, all that stuff. I feel like that's extremely important, especially in a time right now where it may be difficult for some people to find that answer. And that movie kind of really answers that question for them.
It basically portrays the answer of you're not alone and you don't have to go at it alone.
Yeah, I think that's for
no story's the same.
Yeah, I think that's for all of them though. You know, it's that's pretty like what Daniel's always mentioning, heart. I feel like those are all common things that we're always going to see in the Pixar movies. There's always a heart to heart moment. You know, there's always going to be that you're not alone moment, because that's the whole message. You know, Disney's not going to make a movie where it's like, oh, you're alone, but hey, you might end up okay. No, you have a foundation. You got to find that foundation, and you know, we found our foundation. And I'll admit it to you guys, I grew up in growing up, you know, I didn't really understand myself that well. I understood what Riley was going through in the movie. She wanted to run away. I thought about running away when I was very young, you know, and it's a dark part of my past. It was something I was having a difficult time understanding about myself. So, but you know, after watching that movie, it's like, you know, when I watch these movies, I'm like, this is for everybody to see, not just me.
Definitely.
So it brings everything full circle, like I said before.
Yeah, but again, I just, and I might be harping on this a little too much, but I just think it's so important, the work that it's being, and again, it's just such a seminal kind of work, because, you know, in therapy, just kind of showing how do you feel, and even using, I've seen articles and kind of seen videos of in therapy. I don't know if you guys have seen it or if the audience have seen it. If you have, put something in the comments on YouTube, or reach out to us through a podcast. But definitely, I mean, I think I've seen a lot of people kind of say that they're either using the toys or the movie to kind of explain to the patient, you know, how are you feeling right now? Is anger in the driver's seat? Is it disgust? Is it kind of all these things? And it's just kind of it's a better way of understanding yourself. So I think whatever the case might be, I think Inside Out really shows, and it's just a really apt way of portraying that black box in psychology, right? Of the unknown of our minds, of what it can be. And I just think it's such a perfect thing. So does anyone else want to talk about Inside Out? If not, I have the perfect transition into Soul. So go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I
wanted to say something. Go for it.
Yeah. Disney always does a great thing of like, boom, comedy time. Let's refresh. You know, it kind of feels like a little like, you know, like one of those big group talks where it's like, okay, guys, we're all in the level of like, it's getting serious. breathe, relax. Let's get back to the, because in the movies we all get down to this very low spot, and that what's great about it is that in the movie it's like boom, we're back up here again, and it's for the audience, not exactly for the character of Riley, but for the audience himself. For instance, like anger, when he's my favorite part of the whole movie, most hilarious spot was anger getting mad about the broccoli on pizza. Like first the Hawaiians and now you. Killed me. I'm like, oh my god, he's right. I agree with that.
It is really funny. Chad, Matt, anything else?
I summed up my points.
I feel like we hit the ball right out of the park with that one.
All right,
run.
so
So
let
we're
me
hitting the ball out of the
let
park
me go ahead
every
and
time.
transition into Soul, and we're gonna do that in two ways. First, we're gonna do that after we talk about Soul because we have some jazz music coming up. But first, I want to say this: so Disney hit it out of the park by showing us what the black box can be, what the mind can be, what our emotions can be. Short-term memory, long-term memory, all these things. But then they showed us what death can look like and what the soul can look like, and especially in the animation of the characters in Soul, whether it be the little soul figures, which are so cute, or the guidance counselors type thing, where they're just not really shaped.
They're just 2D basically.
They're just 2D. Just
Yeah.
that intricacy of detail shows us another way of not only art, but just existentialism and death and what comes next. So let's talk about Soul, which came out on Disney Plus on December 25th, if I'm not mistaken. A beautiful
I think it
movie
was.
of an African American jazz musician teaching sixth grade
Aspiring
musician. He's teaching middle school kids how to be in a band and just band in general. Gets the gig of his life, and on the day falls down a manhole and dies, unfortunately. And the story then
Wasn't paying attention to where he's going.
is how he can get back to Earth. But to do that, he has to run through this gauntlet of teaching a little soul number
22.
22.
Who doesn't want
What
to come
the
back to
meaning
Earth.
of life can be. So let's talk about Soul. Who's up?
Well, who watched it?
I think that's everyone. Matt. So I guess Matt's gonna go first.
Yeah.
All
Matt
right,
watched
well,
some parts of it.
I watched
Yeah.
some parts of it. I watched the trailer, which I found very interesting because I am a very big fan of music. And so what kind of first caught my eye is, for those of you guys who don't know, there's lots and lots of big stars known in jazz. The most well-known one that I can think of is James Brown. You've heard his music from the original Spider-Man, from just any other movies that you can think of. I mean, I can think of some, but I'm not going to list them because I don't know if we're allowed to right now. No, and so I remember I do like jazz and I like that genre and I like to kind of see where that goes to, and to see a movie that kind of revolves almost around, well, actually did revolve on, like, not the creation of jazz, but how it's done. And you kind of get to see how it's done firsthand through an animation. And then finding out how this guy, falls down a manhole, dies, is reliving his life by witnessing the first jazz concert he's ever gone to, realizing where his love for music all started, which I relate to a lot. I mean, I remember where my music love came from, and kind of seeing that it makes you relate to it and be like, wow, there's some actual similarities. And, as you see the movie progress, as we just said, he ends up helping another soul who, I don't think she's ever been to Earth, and she really has no desire to come to Earth. And the way she ends up coming to Earth is actually pretty funny, basically falling down the same hole because he dragged her. And
Yeah.
And then
I love
now
that,
they're
honestly,
in this,
when they jump into what's the original character's name again?
Joe Gardner.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, what? Guard?
Joe Gardner.
Okay. Yeah, Joe. He gets into the cat body. 22's in his body, and that's hilarious. Especially why are you talking to the cat?
The best part is they're all like, "You're still alive on Earth." He's like, "I guess so."
I think the fact that it was a therapy cat too when he was in the hospital
Oh
makes
yeah.
it just 10 times funnier. And then the owner tries to come, and I forget what the cat's name was, and it was just
I
like,
can't
oh, you can
remember.
send Miss Mittens or something or
I think it was
Whiskers. And-
Mittens.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you're like, it's time for Mr. Mittens to go away, and then he's just like, "Ah."
Yeah. What was the name of that short little guidance guy who was always
Oh, I have
Terry.
no idea.
Terry?
Harry.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think he was the antagonist? Do you think he was the bad guy in the movie?
I don't
I didn't
think
watch
necessarily
the full movie,
he was
so I
a
can't tell you.
here, I'm jumping off that. I don't think he necessarily was a bad character, but like he kind of helped get them back in order, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
I know there
because
was a certain point.
because he's one of the he's always counting souls. He's
Yeah,
trying to
he's a
become
big soul counter.
he's trying to move up in there
Yeah.
in the soul business. But like as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, he's kind of being selfish, but he doesn't know what's really going on in there. He's just trying to do his job as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
And my brother actually asked me that question. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think he's a protagonist, antagonist? Do you think he's good or bad? And it's like, you know what? Maybe he's not. He's
there.
he's not in the circle. He's literally just like he's not in the circle. So
Yeah.
and when my brother asked me that, I was like, huh, wow. It's maybe he's not a bad guy. It's just Disney gave that vibe of like, oh, he's bad. He's trying to ruin everything. Maybe he wasn't, he doesn't know.
Well, and what you just said about like he's kind of clueless on what's going on, like behind
Yeah.
his back, and so like all he really cares about are the counts, really
Mhm.
counting all the souls, and he doesn't really know exactly what Joe and 22 are doing. That when he doesn't know that, that's what kind of fills that gap of people assume that he's a really bad character when in theory he probably isn't.
Yeah,
So-
I kind of just want to jump in here and say, yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think that, and it's almost kind of weird because they portray it in a way where it can kind of be taken in multiple different angles. I mean, I agree with you guys. I don't think he is an antagonist. I think he's an antagonist in the way that he kind of gets in the way to move the story along, but he's not a bad character. And to me, and I don't know if any of you guys will I guess like this analogy. Maybe you Greek mythology fans will even say, hey, that's not right, but forgive me if I'm wrong. Marco, maybe you can help me out with this. But I almost immediately thought of, and it's not an exact, similarity, but of Thanatos and Hades, where people kind of immediately kind of demonize these two things, and they're different roles. Hades isn't inherently evil either. He's just the god of the underworld.
Yeah,
and Thanatos is the god of death. He's not.
Yeah.
He's more like the Grim Reaper, where he's not, killing or doing
He's
stuff.
doing his job.
He's doing his job and guiding the dead soul down to the river Styx, where then it can cross. So
Exactly. And,
that's kind of
same
where
thing
I
with Hades.
right.
Because
Go ahead.
yeah, just a little insight on like, if people don't really know Greek mythology, there's, war between gods and titans. Then the three big ones were Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Gods beat the titans. The big three brothers divide up the world. Zeus gets the sky, Poseidon gets the ocean and like earthquakes and all that, and then Hades gets what's left over. He gets the bones. He gets the scraps.
He gets
Hades,
the underworld.
and exactly. And Hades isn't respected by the two older brothers.
Mm.
He's pushed down there. He has no choice. It's like, at least I get to rule something, And it's I read the Percy Jackson series I have here on my bookshelf, and thank God to Rick Riordan. He's a great author, and he really brings insight of what was left behind in all those, mythological stories. So, it's for Hades and Thanatos, they're doing jobs that everyone like thinks they're evil for. It's like they had no other choice. They didn't want it. You really think, if you had the choice, do you want to be Lord of the Underworld and just be like, yeah, come on in. You're
At
that point-
souls here.
At that point, you
It's-
almost have to put yourself in their shoes and
Exactly.
and see like would you really want to be treated this way? Do I really want to live life that way? So I understand what you're talking about, Marco, and with the Greek mythology, and especially you too, Daniel. I think that's incredibly important with Soul too.
Yeah, because in Soul, it's one thing. When I first saw the trailer, or I saw the the title, I was like, ooh, how are parents going to react to this?
Mhm.
Death for kids. It's Pixar. It's meant for kids. How are kids going to react and parents going to react to a movie that has to do with death? And the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the trailer, after I saw the trailer, was I remember asking my parents about death. My brother asked about death. When kids learn about death, they're completely clueless, and we're still clueless. All we say is that, it's people live for 100 years, and trust me, you're not going to even notice it. That years are going by. It becomes irrelevant as you get older. But excuse me, what I appreciate from this movie is that it helps parents be like, I don't have an answer, but let's watch a movie together. If you got Disney Plus.
And I was a little bit, when I first saw this, I'm going to be completely honest. When I first saw the trailer last year, before the movie came out, I was actually a little skeptical about the movie because I didn't know, like, Pixar has such a great representation of like emotion and coming out with these classic movies like Incredibles and everything else that we talked about earlier in the show. So in the back of my head, I was a little bit skeptical, and I didn't know if this was going to be a good movie or not. And then once I watched it, it gave me a different perspective on a topic that wasn't previously covered in a previous Pixar movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. For me too, I was expecting it to be a lot more about jazz. I thought it was going to be the soul of jazz, and I was expecting a lot more musical of a movie. I was really excited for that. And again, being honest, we watched it with my family, and my family wasn't completely sold on it. But I took a few minutes after because I was like, oh, that was nice. And then it kind of hit me the importance of the movie. And that just goes back to, wow, Disney Pixar really just kind of hits you with that important message of the heart of it. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Not only because of what we talked about, how Marcus said, how it is another version, another portrayal of what could happen, at the end of life. But it also shows that the main theme that I took away is life is beautiful. Someone that, and we'll talk about this, we'll talk about mental health in future episodes.
In later
episodes. But, mental health is so important. And, finding the beauty in life is so important into finding why you want to live, why you want to stay alive, and why you want to continue to excel on this earth and be who you are. And and it's just human nature, but we've kind of fall out of touch with reality and with ourselves and what the beauty of life is at times. Everyone in this room, I mean, we're a good, close group of friends. We know each other. And for the audience, you'll get to meet us, but that we've all dealt with our own things. Soul, this movie really showed and really just kind of showed me again that we have to struggle to find the meaning of life every single day.
Yeah.
And it can be in the smallest, most insignificant things. And our purpose is to live and enjoy the life we have and to make the most of it, even if we're in the crappiest of positions. We're all very, blessed to have computers and to be on the show and be able to do a podcast. But I mean, I take, pleasure in just momentous moment of my life and just this, being able to do this with a group of friends, being able to, bring a brand up and do this with you guys and with the rest of, our board members that weren't able to be here tonight. But this is just amazing. So just finding little things in life that just make life just worth living every day is I think the root of Soul. And it's just one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a while.
Absolutely.
I just want to add in there is, we already know that Joe wasn't ready for death and that he thought he had a purpose for life. And I feel like, that's I think a lot of people, I think people who were in a near death situation, kind of for me, during a time, it was like, oh yeah, you almost experienced death. Woo hoo! Now you appreciate everything. Yeah, this movie kind of. I mean, I should have been more, should have been more accepting at that time. But hey, I was like, I'm 15, I don't know anything, But after watching this movie, it's like, that is something that's a situation that happens to people. They either experience death and by a miracle they come back, or they come close to death, and it was just like a very big, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, I got to do something, it's so easy. And, the second thing though, is that in the movie, Joe experienced death and was able to get back. However, even though he came back, a part of him didn't really come back. I don't think he really came back fully until he, had played in the gig and he experienced it. And he's like, because when you feel like you've done what you want to do, you'll be at the peak. I felt like he made it to a cliff and he thought that was the peak. It wasn't until he got home he started playing on that piano. That scene touched me so much. I'm watching that and I'm like, it didn't bring me to tears, but it made me feel very calm, and like it made me think as well, just like Joe thought in that scene as well. And I think that's really great what the Disney production did. And like they really focused, like, okay, guys, this is it. We got to make this so that everybody, when they watch this, they feel something too. So basically what I'm trying to summarize is that, it's death gives you a new perspective. And sometimes, you maybe it gives us a chance. This movie gives us a chance to be like, am I really doing what I want to do? Did I really find the missing piece in my life? And that's a good question to always bring to the table for ourselves. What is missing from my life? Because this thing that I got, it doesn't feel right. And that's when we really know. So, that's the number one thing for me about Soul. It's that scene specifically, playing the piano, reflecting on everything. That's what really made me fall in love with this movie.
I think one of the major points that this movie wanted to get across was, and I think this is incredibly important, live every day like it's your last. And because again, like a lot of us like probably like assume that he was going to die, hence the name Soul, but we didn't know like when it was going to be. Like it was right when he got the day that he wanted, like when he got this gig. And again, you never know. We honestly don't know when we're going to die. And that's just like one of those things where it's like we have to live every day like it's the last, and not live on the edge, but just have that positive mindset. And I feel like that's extremely important.
Yeah. Anything else we want to say, or should we move on to our break?
Ending.
You didn't like the ending.
You want to know why? I didn't get this because we 22 finally got to appreciate, like 22 finally learned, like, oh my gosh, I do want to have a life. But we never got to see 22.
Soul Part 2, maybe?
I want it. And maybe if they do a second Soul movie, that'd be great. That's what I want to know. I want to know, I thought we were going to get that little, like, not montage, but just, quick glimpse of 22's life. 22 finally finding the soul, her as a soul, finally finding the life she wanted and appreciated and desired. And we got to see like those still moments, like, oh, she did this, she grew, she went through this, she experienced this. I wanted to see that so much, and we didn't get that. And it kind of made me feel like, Joe is the main character, because the reason why Joe's the main character. No. Joe is the character we follow, but I feel like the story's more about 22.
I see what you mean. I think what I did appreciate, though, is that there was an unknown. And I think that's the beauty.
I hate that. I hate unknowns. That bothers me so much. I want to know.
Yeah. But I guess, whoever kind of views it has their own opinion about the end, but I guess.
Yeah.
But anything else?
Yeah.
Matt, Chad, Marco, anything else we want to talk about?
Covered it.
All good.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, then let us transition into our last break here. Enjoy Jazz It Up by Caffeine Creek Band, taken from Pixabay. We'll be right back. So that was Jazz It Up by Caffeine Creek Band, taken from Pixabay. So thank you very much. That was some jazz. And now let us finish off our show by asking this question. Guys, what do you think? Or what movie do you think you'll rewatch soon? So why don't we start with Chad?
Yeah. So I feel like, me personally, I would rewatch Incredibles. Not because there are two movies, just because I think that story and that both those movies are just really funny. I don't know if it's because like the family dynamic like we talked about earlier, or just because of the humor, because I really love the humor in there. I feel like they put a lot of stuff in there that's really funny. But I just see myself like the first Incredibles, for example, that came out in like 2004. I lost the amount of time that I've rewatched it now, and I feel like I can still keep rewatching it up until when I get old, and it's still going to be funny. So I feel like for me, it just has to be Incredibles all the way.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Marco?
I would agree, because honestly that's my choice. Out of all the movies we discussed in this podcast, Incredibles would be mine. I think that's the number one I relate to the most. when it comes, because it goes off from, I feel like me and my family relate to it. I see a lot of my family in it. And honestly, what I love the most is it jumps right back into the story. So you can go watching Incredibles to Incredibles 2 and boom, it's I think that's one of the best binge, like one of the movies to binge watch with your family, because it goes right into the story right away. So yeah, Incredibles would be my number one.
That'd be my number one as well. I mean,
yeah, right.
I love the I love the comedy in that movie. I love the characters. I think it was very well executed of how they've formed the two movies, and how we've talked about and what the meanings behind it means and all that. It's a very good movie, and I would definitely probably end up watching it soon with my cousins.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn, to be honest. I want to say Incredibles with you guys for the same exact reasons. I want to say Inside Out, but I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and say Soul again. That may not have a lot of rewatchability, but maybe one more time. Right now, I think it would be good. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those we discussed Incredibles 1 and 2, Up, Inside Out, and Soul, and we gave our little movie reviews. We discussed the main themes. We talked about which movies we would watch soon, and that is our second show, episode 2 of The Intelligent World. Very different from our first, but we thank you so much for tuning in. Any closing remarks, any signing offs, any comments that you guys want to give? Marco?
Well, seeing as this not only is going to be on Anchor, but it's also going to be on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button below. Maybe, Lord. I don't know, down there,
it's
maybe
down below.
Down below.
Somewhere down there.
And, leave a comment on what you thought of our podcast so far. I mean, this is the second video, so hopefully we get good reviews. If not, doesn't matter, because we're all happy people here. So yeah, just remember, hit the subscription button, leave a comment, and a good like.
Thank you. And also, please be sure to subscribe to us on wherever you listen to your podcasts, whether it be Apple Music, Spotify, Breaker, Stitcher, Castbox,
whatever it may be,
Amazon
Anchor,
Music, wherever it may be.
Everything.
Anchor, if you listen to it through Anchor.
Wherever it is, we're there.
Exactly. And we're adding more each day. So stay tuned. You can always look at our Instagram. You can always email us if you have any questions, or if you want to hear a topic talked about by us, make sure to fill out that Google form so that we can talk about some stuff.
Are you talking to us or the audience?
No, to the audience, to everyone.
Yeah, everyone who's watching, listening.
Yeah, help out our creative team and coming up with ideas for the show.
Yeah. If you got any ideas of what we should talk about, throw your ideas at us, and the creative team will get on it, and we'll get cracking, baby.
We will.
And if you want to stay updated with the latest updates, go and follow us on Instagram at The Intelligent World. Right? I think that's what it is.
True.
That's it.
Yeah. So we'll have stuff up there, stories. You can message us through there. Any ideas that you guys want for the show?
Yeah.
Everything's accepted.
Well, let's go ahead and sign off. Let's start with Chad.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching / listening to this podcast. This was a great second episode. Well, my first episode, but the second one. And I can't wait for more episodes to be brought out to you guys. This is a lot of fun.
Marco?
I thought that would go lower.
Nice.
I was trying to disappear. Yeah.
It's been real. Peace out. As they said, do all what we just said. You're good to go.
Yeah, do what we said.
Wise words.
Or not. That's up to you.
Thank you, everyone. This is Daniel Mejia, and we're signing off from The Intelligent World. We like to explore different topics, and we're trying to change the world with one discussion at a time. Thank you very much for listening and watching. This has been The Intelligent World, episode number 2.
The music used for the intro and outro of this podcast was Under the Sea by the IMG from freemusicarchive.org.
The mid-show songs used were Jazz It Up by the Caffeine Creek Band, taken from Pixabay.
Tupac Lives by John Bartmann from Pixabay.
Blue Sky Blues by Kara Square, copyright 2019, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution, taken from ccmixture.org, featuring Admiral Bob.
And finally, we use Cali by Wataboi from Pixabay. Thank you for listening to The Intelligent World.